In this video, we'll be taking a look at 4 college basketball games happening on April 5th, 2025, and providing you with free team picks and total picks for each one of those games, so 8 picks in total. Welcome back to Cash Out Sports. Let's dive right into it. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe and to click the bell icon to get notified as soon as these videos get released, so that you have more time to plan out your bets as we provide these videos on a daily basis. I can guarantee that you'll have all the important information that you'll need on these 4 college basketball games after fully watching this video. One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below, where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Nebraska versus Boise State. The Nebraska Cornhuskers, sitting at 19-14 on the season, are set to face off against the 26-10 Boise State Broncos in the semifinal round of the College Basketball Crown Tournament. The game is going down in Las Vegas, so the stakes are high and the lights will be bright. Nebraska had little trouble getting through Georgetown in the previous round, cruising to an 81-69 victory and easily covering the 10-point spread. Boise State also got the job done in their last outing, outscoring Butler 100-93 in a fast-paced game where they were 8.5-point favorites and played like it. If both squads show up and play near their potential, we should have a competitive and entertaining game on our hands. Boise State looked sharp on the offensive end in their win over Butler, shooting an impressive 60.3% from the floor. They also won the rebounding battle 29-25 and kept their turnovers in check with just 7. On the flip side, they did allow Butler to shoot 57.6%, which isn't ideal, but they made up for it by turning 10 Bulldog turnovers into 17 points. Offensively, the Broncos have found their rhythm, putting up a total of 189 points through their first 2 college basketball crown matchups. That's a noticeable improvement after scoring fewer than 63 points in 2 of their last 3 games before this tournament. Nebraska also looked solid in their most recent game, shooting 47.5% from the field in their win over Georgetown. The Cornhuskers were active on the glass, pulling down 40 rebounds to Georgetown's 31, and they were almost automatic from the free throw line, hitting 16 out of 18 shots. On defense, they held the Hoyas to just 39% shooting and pretty much dictated the pace and flow for most of the game. Altogether, Nebraska has scored 167 points across their 2 games in this tournament, which shows they're finding a rhythm on offense at just the right time. So far, both of these teams have looked comfortable in the first couple of rounds, but this next matchup figures to be a tougher test for each. Boise State might have the better defensive stats for the season overall, but giving up 93 points to Butler in their last game raises a red flag. On the other hand, Nebraska's defense hasn't exactly been locking teams down either. They've allowed 78 or more points in 3 of their last 4 games. The good news for them is that their offense has also been clicking, scoring 81 or more in 3 of their last 4 as well. This has all the makings of a high-scoring battle. I do think Boise State's defense, even if it's a little leaky right now, has what it takes to step up late in the game when it matters most. As our first pick for this matchup, the Boise State Broncos to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Offense has been the name of the game for both of these teams during their time in the college basketball crown. Boise State put up 89 and 100 points in their first 2 matchups, while Nebraska came in with totals of 86 and 81. So far, the tournament has leaned toward the high-scoring side in general. 7 out of the 9 games played have gone over the total. Boise State seems to be leaning into offense lately, maybe more so than they did during the regular season, and both of their tournament games have gone over. Nebraska, for their part, has shown they can light it up too, averaging in the mid-80s through 2 rounds and looking ready to trade punches with the Broncos on the scoreboard. All signs point to more scoring. Given how both of these offenses are humming and considering the defensive lapses we've seen recently on both sides, it's tough to imagine this one turning into a grinded-out, low-scoring affair. I wouldn't feel good betting on an under here. I think both teams are going to put up points, and I wouldn't be surprised if each hits at least 77. That kind of output should be more than enough to take this one over the total line. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Villanova versus UCF. The UCF Knights, with a season record of 19 wins and 16 losses, are set to take on the Villanova Wildcats, who sit at 21-14 in the semifinal round of the College Basketball Crown Tournament this Saturday. This tournament is brand new, with all the action happening in Las Vegas. So far, UCF has made their way through by taking down Oregon State and then Cincinnati. On the flip side, Villanova earned their semifinal spot with wins over Colorado and USC. There's some added drama in this one, as one squad is missing its head coach, while the other is without its top player. Still, when the ball tips off, it all comes down to what happens on the floor, and Villanova looks like they've got what it takes to come out on top. After 3 seasons, Villanova decided to move on from Kyle Neptune and will bring in Kevin Willard to steer the ship next season. But for now, they've kept their core group intact for this tournament run. They're rolling with Dixon, Poplar, and Longino, 3 guys who can all fill it up, each averaging double digits. Eric Dixon is the main weapon, and he's leading the entire nation in scoring. Meanwhile, UCF took a huge hit when Keyshawn Hall packed his bags and headed out, choosing to transfer to Auburn. At 6'7", Hall was their go-to scorer and rebounder and had the size and versatility to match up with just about anyone on Villanova's side. Without him, the Knights had to lean heavily on Darius Johnson, who dropped 31 points in the last game. But against this deep and skilled Villanova squad, it's hard to see him carrying the load by himself again. You've got to give UCF some respect for making it this far. That win over Cincinnati was no joke, and they've pulled off upsets before when no one gave them a shot. Remember that surprise win over Utah, or when they took down Texas Tech as a double-digit underdog on New Year's Eve. This team knows how to shock people. That said, the current betting line feels a little soft. Villanova just has more talent, more depth, and they've been playing their best basketball lately. Honestly, if they had taken the regular season a little more seriously, they might have made the NCAA tournament. They've now won 6 of their last 8 games and look like they've finally found their rhythm. UCF has struggled all year to get consistent stops on defense, which is a bad setup when you're facing someone like Eric Dixon, who can score in so many ways. Now, looking at USC, they just haven't been able to string wins together all year long. It's been months since they've won back-to-back games, and that kind of inconsistency has haunted them. Their defense hasn't held up well, and that makes it hard to trust them against a solid opponent. Villanova might not have lived up to the hype earlier in the season, but over the last few weeks, they've turned a corner, winning 5 of their last 7. They've started to put it together, and with how bad USC is on the defensive end, this could be a great opportunity for Nova to take full control. Eric Dixon is going to be a problem for them again. As our first pick for this matchup, the Villanova Wildcats to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. This matchup is interesting because it's a real contrast in playing styles. Villanova prefers a slow, methodical pace where they grind out possessions and limit chaos. UCF, on the other hand, would love to run the floor, push the tempo, and turn this into a track meet. But without Hall, who gave them a physical wing that could fly in transition and finish above the rim, that's going to be a tall order. The Knights will have to pivot and figure out a new approach, which won't be easy against a Villanova team that thrives on control and physicality. Nova ranks 352nd in tempo, meaning they are one of the slowest teams in the country, and they feature a 6'8", 265-pound forward who takes his time to get buckets and wear defenders down. They'll work the clock, look for mismatches, and exploit UCF's defensive holes. Even in their last win, they only scored 60 points, and they were still able to get the job done. Expect another low-scoring game here. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Florida versus Auburn. The Florida Gators, now sitting at 34 wins and 4 losses, are set to face off against the Auburn Tigers, who come in with a 32-5 record in what should be a high-level showdown between 2 number 1 seeds in the Final Four this Saturday. These 2 squads already squared off once during the regular season, and Florida came out on top, winning 90-81 on the road in what was a solid Southeastern Conference matchup. That earlier win might give the Gators a mental edge, but both teams have grown since then, and the stakes are way higher this time around. To get to this point, Florida knocked out Texas Tech, a 3 seed, in the Elite Eight. The Gators won that 184-79, covering the 6.5-point spread in the process and locking up the West region. On the other hand, Auburn beat Michigan State, the 2 seed from the South, with a gritty 70-64 win where they also covered as 5.5-point favorites. So both teams handled tough competition and lived up to expectations. Now they're both 40 minutes away from the national title game. We've got ourselves a stacked Final Four down in San Antonio. So far, this NCAA tournament hasn't delivered many upsets, but that's led to something rare. 4 number 1 seeds have reached the Final Four for the first time since 2008. That year is still talked about, mainly because Mario Chalmers hit a miracle 3-pointer to push Kansas past a Memphis team that featured Derrick Rose. and was led by John Calipari. That shot forced overtime, and Kansas ended up winning it all. What's even crazier about this year is that each of these top seeds is ranked among the top 10 teams in Ken Palm's system, which goes back nearly 3 decades. So yeah, it's a special year. The first Final Four matchup features an all-Southeastern Conference clash, which is something we haven't seen quite like this before. This is only the 5th time 2 Southeastern Conference schools have both made the Final Four, but it's the first time they'll face each other on this stage. Auburn, who earned the top overall seed, hasn't had much trouble on the path here. They won by double digits over Creighton and Michigan before taking care of business against Michigan State. But here's where things get a little messy. Johnny Broome got banged up in that last game, hurting both his knee and his elbow. He's expected to play, but playing hurt in a game this big is never ideal. On Florida's side, you could argue they've had a bit more drama getting here. They barely escaped UConn and Texas Tech, needing clutch plays down the stretch. They did handle Maryland pretty comfortably in the Sweet 16, though that Maryland team looked like their heads were already somewhere else. Still, Florida hasn't really hit their full stride yet in this tournament. That should be concerning for Auburn, especially since Florida already beat them once this season, and they did that without Elijah Martin, who's one of their leaders. It's tough to say just how healthy Broome will actually be. I don't expect him to look like himself out there, especially not with both a knee and elbow injury. Florida's got plenty of size and bodies in the front court, so they can rotate defenders and wear him down. That could make it hard for him to score with any kind of rhythm or pull down rebounds in traffic, especially with that elbow bothering him. If Broome isn't close to 100%, Auburn's backcourt will need to carry the load, and that's a tall order with Walter Clayton Jr. on the other side. Clayton has been a spark plug for the Gators all season, and he's had some big moments in the tournament already. When Florida beat Auburn earlier this year, Clayton dropped 19 points, went 4 for 8 from deep, and handed out 9 assists. When Broome is on the floor, look for Florida's bigs, Alex Kindon, Ruben Chinielu, and Micah Handlington, to take turns guarding him down low. Those guys are physical enough to also deal with Dylan Cardwell, who will likely get more minutes in this game because of Broome's situation. Thomas Hall, who's been a breakout player during this tournament run, brings a nice mix of size and mobility, and he'll probably be matched up with versatile players like Chaney Johnson or Chad Baker-Mazara. Then there's Will Richard, a long perimeter defender who will be tasked with slowing down Baker-Mazara, Miles Kelly, or Denver Jones, especially when Jones is working off the ball. Taking everything into account, Florida just feels like a good fit for this matchup. Their coach, Todd Golden, knows Auburn inside and out. He used to be on Bruce Pearl's staff, and you could see that earlier in the year when he had a solid game plan to beat them. I also think Elijah Martin's experience in big moments will matter, especially combined with Clayton's ability to get hot from deep. That veteran presence can go a long way when things tighten up late. As our first pick for this matchup, the Florida Gators money line is our full game side pick. Florida's been hitting the over like clockwork, going over the total in 11 straight games, including every single one of their postseason matchups. Auburn, meanwhile, ended the regular season with 5 straight overs too. But they've flipped the script in the tournament. They've cranked up the defense, and the under has hit in 5 of their last 6. These are 2 teams that know how to get after it defensively. Auburn ranks 8th in the country, and Florida is right behind at 10th. With that kind of intensity, especially in a Final Four setting, this game could slow down enough to bring the total under. Digging into the history between these schools, 4 of the last 5 times they've played, the total has landed under. These teams are built similarly and play at a pace that can bog games down, especially when the defense is locked in. What's interesting is that this upcoming matchup has the highest total posted out of all those recent meetings. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Houston versus Duke. The Houston Cougars, holding a record of 34 wins and just 4 losses, are set to face off against the Duke Blue Devils, who have gone an impressive 35-3 this season. It's a high-stakes meeting in the Final Four, featuring 2 top seeds going head-to-head. Houston made it out of the Midwest region as the #1 seed, while Duke punched its ticket to San Antonio by coming out on top in the East as a fellow #1 seed. After months of intense, hard-fought basketball, the long road through the college season has finally led to this, the Final Four in San Antonio, Texas. Not only did all 4 top seeds make it to this point, but fans are in for a real treat Saturday night when the top 2 teams in Ken Palm's rankings, Houston and Duke, meet at the Alamodome in the final game of the evening. The stakes couldn't be higher. The winner will move on to the national championship game on Monday, where they'll meet either Florida or Auburn, who are set to battle it out on the other side of the bracket. Though both squads arrived at the same destination, the routes they took couldn't have been more different. Duke tore through its region without much trouble, knocking off Mount St. Mary's, Baylor, Arizona, and Alabama. Their dominance on both offense and defense has been clear all season, and they've shown that they can adapt to different styles of play and still come out on top. Right now, they sure look like the best team in the country. Houston, on the other hand, leaned into its toughness to survive a brutal stretch. They narrowly edged out Gonzaga and Purdue, winning those 2 games by just 7 points combined, before putting on a clinic against a very strong Tennessee team last weekend. And while Duke's been the talk of the tournament, I don't think anyone should count Houston out in this one. When you look at the full season and factor in all the numbers, I just can't get behind Duke being favored by this much. My own projection would have this game much closer, more of a toss-up than anything else. Sure, Duke's been red hot in the tournament, and that matters. They've earned the favorite tag. But still, getting Houston with more than 1 possession feels like solid value. This is expected to be a slower-paced game compared to the other semifinal, and every single point is going to matter. The current total for the game is in the mid-130 seconds, and with that kind of low-scoring setup, betting on an underdog like Houston to keep it close just makes sense. This matchup is especially interesting because the 2 teams bring very different styles to the floor. The outcome might come down to which team manages to get the game played on its terms. Duke is rock solid across the board, but their defensive strengths, stopping fast breaks and protecting the rim, don't really line up with what Houston likes to do on offense. That mismatch might work in the Cougars' favor. Houston thrives in the mid-range and does serious damage on second-chance opportunities, especially when their bigs crash the offensive boards and kick it out for open threes. And when they get those looks from deep, they make them count. Their team 3-point percentage of nearly 40% is one of the best in the country. Just last game, guys like Emmanuel Sharp, L.J. Cryer, and Milo's using hit tough shots against a stout Tennessee defense. That same formula can work again here, especially against a Duke defense that tends to live with teams trying to beat them from the outside. Defensively, Houston might be the toughest team Duke has faced all year. The Cougars' aggressive, physical approach is something the Blue Devils, including standout freshman Cooper Flagg, haven't seen at this level yet. Houston has a knack for dictating how a game is played, turning any matchup into the kind of gritty, grinded-out fight they prefer. They've been playing great basketball lately, and when you factor in their experience, strength, and dominance on the glass, they might have the edge against a Duke squad that, while excellent, isn't immune to being pushed around. All things considered, I think Houston's got what it takes to make this a tight one, and in a close game, I'll gladly take the points. As our first pick for this matchup, the Houston Cougars to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Duke's sharp shooting and offensive efficiency might just be the difference maker in this game, even against a rugged Houston defense. They don't waste trips down the floor, something that's crucial when you're going up against a team that thrives on making every possession tough. The Blue Devils have been on fire in the tournament, shooting close to 60% and putting up over 90 points per game. On top of that, they've hit the over in 3 of their 4 games so far. Their size and length should help them get good looks and make things uncomfortable for Houston on the defensive end. For the Cougars to keep this one close, they'll need to score, and probably more than they're used to. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.